Controversial update? Yes. Necessary? Most likely. May 24th, 2024. This might just mark a brand new era for Counter-Strike and the skins that users interact with. Valve have always had simple guidelines for their cosmetics. Obtain a case, purchase a key, consume both items to receive something of value. Typically, that value is a few cents and depression. The value is determined by the community through marketplaces. Whether that's an item going for 3 cents because it's easily available and unattractive, or $300,000 because it's rare and idolized. This type of market first existed in Team Fortress 2, had been experimented with in Dota 2, and famously exists in Counter-Strike. With the original Manco crate in Team Fortress 2 released mid-2010, containing a series of weapon skins and a rare special item, which in Team Fortress 2 is hats. We have seen this model used for well over a decade now. But gaming has changed, the culture has changed, and the optics have also changed. The ability to rent skins from a case instead of just opening one and praying to the digital slot machine does not sound like the Valve that I know. But it's not the first time they have done something completely unexpected, and there's some pretty strong connections between these two things. First, we have to understand this update. No, not all of your skins can now be rented for a few dollars, and no, you won't be renting any blue gems anytime soon. As of right now, only the kilowatt case is included in this change. After purchasing a key, you will have the option to rent for a week or to open the case like normal. Once the week is over, these skins will be gone. So will this be introduced for all cases? Will it be introduced for new cases? As of right now, we do not know. One of the interesting parts about this update is you don't get to choose what skin you want to rent. You get every single skin except for the rare special item, which is either knives or gloves. All of the reds, all of the pinks, all of the purples, and all of the blues. Every single item will be in your inventory for 1 week. The one interesting aspect of this is that not every skin is factory new. Each skin has its own float and its own pattern, just like you unboxed it for real. Gut reaction is that this will be introduced for all new cases and old cases will remain the same. And operation skins will be untouched as there is no case or container to obtain them in outside of an operation. But let's theorize what it would look like if all cases had this option. For some of the high tier cases in the game, like a Bravo case, you would have to buy the case, then the key. That is nearly $50 USD right there, and you can own a Fire Serpent for a week, and then it's gone. That sounds like a terrible financial decision to me. But I will say there are some other cases where this could be really interesting, like the original CSGO weapon case, where we will probably see people attempting a 661 case hardened just to say that they owned one. While owning a Fire Serpent for a week seems stupid, owning a $300,000 AK for a week is quite a unique opportunity. Regardless, I think that scenario is quite unlikely. But the part that interests me with this update isn't the market reaction or the renting system itself. We don't really care about the kilowatt case as it is. It was recently introduced and no one should really be invested in it anyways. Cases will still be eaten up from people renting, and cases will always be opened by people trying to obtain knives or gloves. For people like me who are invested, or for those watching, there are many cheap cases to invest in for the next couple of years if Valve doesn't apply the system to every old case. Nothing has really changed as of today with this update. That is a potential issue that exists in the future, not today. But what does seem to exist today is fear from Valve that their cases are going to get targeted once again. It's no secret that Counter-Strike has been the main focus for illegal and unethical practices with how integral the market has become to nearly every single player. Whether they are 10 or 50, nearly every single person participates. Valve first got in hot water over third-party gambling. We all know the story there, but short and sweet, there were kids losing thousands of dollars illegally gambling. Following the exposure of people who were involved in rigging these sites, there were lawsuits thrown and a cease and desist from Valve. This is ancient CS history that holds little relevance today. but it's also a turning point for the way video game cosmetics are viewed in the eyes of the law. In 2016, Counter-Strike became the poster child for why video games need strict regulations on how they market and distribute cosmetics. It was quiet for the following years. Sites targeted by Valve closed down or had their bots banned. New sites then rose up to take their place. But in 2018, another crackdown hit the twin towers of gaming. Due to the horrible launch of Star Wars Battlefront 2, once again, a legal discussion had begun, this time against the entire gaming industry. Pay-to-win mobile games, Battlefront's atrocious crates, FIFA, which likely became the biggest controversy in the online space. Blew my mind reading about it. The average cost for a team for those competed at Champs was $27,000. You don't spend thousands, you don't even have a chance at competing at a high level. Not that it matters anyways, as EA patented dynamic difficulty. This would allow them to make your players worse if you stop spending, or make your players insane for a few games if you just bought a bunch of packs. I just can't believe that even gambling simulator Counter-Strike is in the same conversation as games like that. Anyways, rant over. Both the gambling regulators in Europe and the Washington Gambling Commission in America had expressed concerns. Both Belgium and Netherlands were the only two countries that took action. That is why X-ray cases exist in Counter-Strike. It was Valve's way to get around these laws. And I believe more countries would have followed suit in due time. But COVID happened pretty soon after, and disrupting the whole gaming space isn't exactly what you want to do when everyone is stuck inside. The heat is on though. Games like Counter-Strike are getting targeted, and it's not a matter of if, but when. But without any updates, maybe nothing would come. Sure, there was the European Parliament votes that leaned in favor of regulating loot boxes last year, but nothing really came of that. It was essentially radio silence for 6 years until Buff 163 made a pretty big splash in early May. CS2 cases will not be sold or purchased on their site. Considering the chokehold Buff had on the overall skins market, this was a massive change and may have been a massive warning. For those who don't keep up with China and their relationship with online spending or video games in general, I don't blame you. I don't either. I just make videos about it here and there. But for the uninitiated, this battle has been mounting for some time. Why do we know the odds of cases? Because China forced developers to disclose odds in 2016. And just recently, new limitations on spending and luck-based drops have also been enacted. China has a long list of fairly oppressive regulations based on young gamers, but these are the 2 points that are relevant to us. You may be asking why Buff would make this change recently when the new laws were implemented early in the year. And honestly, my answer is that I don't know. Maybe the widespread use of VPNs, or maybe due to Buff being a third-party site. Either way, I'm not 100%. Regardless, despite an official mention from Buff, we can assume that the removal of cases was caused by a delayed response to these regulations. Belgium and Netherlands had strict regulations, but there were workarounds. Chinese buyers have been keeping this market afloat for years now, and an X-ray case might not slip by the new laws. And now, just a couple weeks later, Valve have added the option to rent skins. New Chinese regulations, major coming to China in just a few months. And from what it looks like to me, Valve finding their way around these new laws. So when I say Valve may have just saved CS2 skins, I'm not talking about visual changes to skins, or how renting skins could be good or bad for the market, or an operation coming soon, or an update that brings the player base back to what it was. No, I'm talking about governments regulating video game loot boxes to the point that skins cannot be profitable, or even bought and sold for real money. Counter-Strike will not die on its own. The skins market will constantly increase as the active supply for items decreases. There's ups and downs in the market, but the only true way that this market can die is through external factors, so naturally, it's my biggest fear. And there's a reason I keep bringing it up. Following this update, Counter-Strike cases are no longer slot machines. You don't need to chance that case and that key for something that may be worth 10 cents. Gambling takes a case and a key. Renting also takes a case and a key. Another crackdown comes on loot boxes, and Valve can basically absolve themselves of any wrongdoing. It's not a gambling service, it's a renting service with the option of gambling. Why ban our cases when all of these people are getting exactly what they wanted? Just like X-ray packages, it seems like Valve are attempting loopholes to get past loot box regulations. It may take a different form, but I think it's the same end goal. We have to see if cases will ever be sold on Buff again. We have to see if China will respect this change or pass stricter laws to block this attempt from Valve. But for the rest of us living across the world who have never seen a loot box restriction in our lives, it doesn't look like we will see them anytime soon. And with this recent change from Valve, at least not in Counter-Strike,